Hey guys, it's Kaylee, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to do a bit of a reading update, so I'm going to talk you through all of the books that I have read since my last reading update video, so basically all the books that I've read so far in May. I have finished 5 books so far this month, so I'm going to talk you through all of those, and then I'm in the middle of 2, so I will mention those quickly at the end. So the first book that I finished in May was The Western Wind by Samantha Harvey. So this is a historical fiction novel and it's set at the end of the 15th century in a small town, and it's set over the course of 4 days. The novel is told in 4 parts, 1 part for each of the day, and it's actually told backwards. So we start on day 4 when the body of a man is found in a river. We slowly move backwards in time, revealing more about each of the characters until we get to day 1, which is the day that the man actually died. I thought the structure of this novel definitely added an element of interest to what would ordinarily have been quite a straightforward storyline. And I think that this device meant that we were kept guessing throughout the book, and that when things were revealed, it was really satisfying. My favourite thing about this book was definitely Harvey's writing style. I've read some reviews that said that this wasn't the most historically accurate book, but for me that really didn't matter because Harvey's writing well and truly transported me to the time and place. And I had such a vivid picture of this place and these people in my mind. She had such beautiful descriptions of the landscape and the natural world that I really enjoyed. This novel is told from the perspective of the priest in the village. His name is John Reeve, and throughout the course of the 4 days he receives confessions from a lot of the villagers. Reeve was such an interesting character. He was very philosophical at points and quite brutally honest, and I found that his perspective was really the driving force to my reading. I thought that the backward storytelling was also quite interesting from his perspective, because it made us as readers put so much trust in him to tell us this story. There are a number of other really fascinating characters in the book as well, and I think Harvey does such a good job of making every single character seem really authentic and realistic. Overall, I thought this was a very interesting and compelling read, and I'm definitely going to look into more of Samantha Harvey's books. The next book that I finished was actually an audiobook that I got on Scribd, and that is Down Among the Sticks and Bones by Shannon Maguire. So this is the second book in her Wayward Children series, and I read the first one in this series last month. This, I didn't know going in, was actually a prequel, so it follows Jack and Jill from book 1, back when they first enter their other world. So it looks into them both more as siblings but also as individuals. It shows what their upbringing was like and really the reasons that they both had for wanting to escape the life that they already had. I found this to be a really fun, interesting and engaging read, and I definitely liked it more than the first one. This had all of the development of world and character that I was missing from the first book, and I loved learning more about Jack specifically because I absolutely loved her in book 1. Again, Maguire's writing is absolutely beautiful and lyrical, and she really captures her characters and the world that she's trying to create. The only thing that knocked this book down a star for me was the way that the themes were executed. So the themes of gender stereotypes, identity and belonging were maybe dealt with a little heavy-handedly. I really appreciated what she was trying to say, but I think it was maybe just a little obvious, and I appreciate a little bit more nuance or subtlety. Overall, I thought this was a really great addition to the series, and I'm excited to carry on with Maguire's writing. The next book that I finished is actually a non-fiction pick, and I got this out from the library, and that is Say Nothing by Patrick Radden Keefe. This is the story of the Troubles in Ireland through the eyes of the people involved. Keefe begins the book with 2 narrative threads that alternate by chapter. So we get introduced to Jean McConville, who was taken from her home, abandoning her 10 children. The narrative looks at the experiences of her children, what happened after this event, and where they ended up in their lives. We also get the perspective of the Price sisters and a lot of other big names that were involved in the IRA during this time. This book was absolutely fascinating. I loved getting the narrative from both sides, and I felt that Keefe did such a good job of tying these 2 threads together. The way he wrote about these events in such a narrative, engaging style was so well done, and I found myself compulsively reading this book all day. I had such little knowledge of this subject going into reading this book, but I didn't find it hard to follow at all, and it wasn't difficult to understand. I felt we got a really deep understanding of the people involved. This has definitely opened up a fascination in me to find out even more about this time period. The next book that I finished was Across the Nightingale Floor by Leanne Hearn. So this book has been on my TBR for so long, so I'm super glad I finally got to it this month. So this book follows a young boy called Takeo, who is part of a community called The Hidden, who is quite spiritual and peaceful. And one day he returns to his village to find that it's been massacred by the Tohan clan and there are no survivors. So he ends up trying to escape the evil Tohan leader, and he is found and rescued by a lord that appears in the woods who takes him under his wing back to his home. Takeo soon learns that this lord that saved him is the leader of the Otori clan, and while living with him he becomes educated and he learns that he has some secret talents that he didn't know that he had. He also discovers the existence of the Tribe, which is an elite society for highly skilled assassins. The book follows Takeo on a journey of self-discovery, but also as he supports Lord Otori's fight against the Tohan clan. This is a classic YA adventure fantasy, and it had all of the elements of that genre that I absolutely love. The thing that tipped me over the edge with this book was Leanne Hearn's writing style. This book was filled with beautiful turns of phrase and gorgeous descriptions of the natural world. I also really loved the magic concepts in this book, the abilities of the Tribe and the Nightingale Floor. Although this book was absolutely brilliant, it did leave me wanting in a lot of different aspects, so I felt that the world building was lacking a little bit. And the book really could have been about 100 pages longer to accommodate that, and it would have been totally fine. We are literally thrown into the action in the very first chapter, and I felt like this was a little bit hasty, and we didn't really get enough world building or execution to really build up what was happening. I also found that the amazing abilities of the Tribe weren't really developed as much as they could have been. The characters were absolutely amazing in this book and they seemed really realistic. I did feel like there was a little bit of insta-love going on, but all of the other character relationships seemed really believable and were very well portrayed, so I'm hoping that later books in the series will fix the insta-love that happened in this one. Lastly, although this was like a Japanese-inspired fantasy, I felt like there weren't that many Japanese elements in this book, or that I learned much about Japanese culture. The people were Japanese, they had Japanese names, but nothing else in the book really seemed to be inspired by the country. Overall though, this is one of those books where I can really forgive its flaws because I enjoyed it so much. I had such a great time reading this one and I'm super excited to pick up the next books in the series. So the last book that I have finished this week is Pachinko by Min Jin Lee. So this is a historical novel and it spans about 80 years. So we start with a young couple who are struggling to have a surviving child until they give birth to Sunja, who is the woman that this story really centres around. Beginning on a small island off the southern coast of Korea in 1911, we see Sunja come into the world and grow up. As the daughter of a working class family, she is no stranger to hard work and labour, and she helps her parents run a boarding house out of the building that they rent. Through a series of events at the beginning of the novel, Sunja finds herself pregnant and she is unable to marry the father of the child. So she is offered the chance to marry a Christian minister and move to Japan to start a new life for herself and her baby. This book felt like such an experience. This is such an epic story, not just of Sunja, but of many generations of this family struggling through life as a Korean during this time. I absolutely fell in love with every single one of the characters. They are just all so authentic and vibrant, and each and every one of them were just as real as one another, even though we don't spend as much time with every single character in the book. There are a series of events and plot points in the novel that are shocking and compelling and carry the story on, but that really wasn't the reason why I kept reading this one. For me, it was all about the characters and what happened to those characters in their lives, even in times that weren't necessarily documented in the book. I thought that Min Jin Lee's writing style was so effortlessly readable. It wasn't overly descriptive or wordy, but it painted such a vivid picture in my mind of this time and place, and of these people. She constructed the novel in such a way that I cared wholeheartedly on every single page of this book about each and every one of the characters. I feel like I really know these people and have lived with them. A lot of books like this, I think, are like a window looking into the lives of people, giving a sort of slice of life look at their experience. But this book immersed me so fully. I didn't feel as though I was peering in, I felt like I was right there with them the whole time. I absolutely loved the way that this book ended and wrapped up. I felt like it was so full circle and emotional, and I was just filled with so much love for all of the characters. This is absolutely a new favourite book of all time. So lastly, I am in the middle of 2 books just now. So the first book that I'm reading is Becoming by Michelle Obama. So this is Michelle Obama's memoir, and I'm about 66% of the way through this one. I got this one out of the library as an ebook, and I'm really enjoying it so far, so I should have that finished up in the next day or two, and I can talk about it in my next wrap up. And then the other book that I'm in the middle of currently is Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins. So this is a reread for me. I am rereading the series in preparation for the prequel, which I think comes out this month. But I did read this series back when I was a teenager and really enjoyed it. So I am looking forward to revisiting the series. So that is everything for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you've read any of these books, please let me know what you thought of them down in the comments. And what have you guys been reading this week? Please let me know. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!